Hey, and welcome to this new YouTube video. Today we have another Q&A session, but first of all, as a little intro, if you're new here, my name is Maximilian Plück. I'm a certified meditation teacher and also a burnout and mental health optimization coach. So to answer some questions in that regard, we will dive right in. The first question is from Mark. Hi Maximilian, what's a good exercise and practice to replace drinking with after a stressful day? My guess is that you want to equal out the stress at work with some enjoyment, which is totally legit. So two fundamental approaches would be, can you reduce stress sources at work? For example, maybe you could set more boundaries, just not accepting every piece of work. Maybe you can delegate something. Maybe you can also dive more deeply into time management. I will upload a post on that very soon on my Instagram. Maybe it's already there. You can follow me there at maxi.plück. The second aspect would be create more enjoyment in a different way in your free time. You could find joy through expressing yourself creatively. That's a really big one. You could do some sports, even just a boring kind of sport like weightlifting or strength training boosts your dopamine for a few hours. By the way, going to a gym is great, but if you also fancy some home workouts that you can do outside in the garden, I will link some great channels for that in the description, so you can just watch their home workouts and just follow along, and it's totally free. And most of them, or many of them, are even without any equipment, so you only need your own body weight, which is great. Also, you could dance, or you could just listen to your favorite music on a very good sound system and just enjoy that, listen very closely. Then, of course, you could also substitute alcohol with another beverage you enjoy that doesn't contain alcohol. So, for example, tea with honey, because the thing is that alcohol loosens the identity a little and it makes life a little bit more blurry. And so the idea is to create a life that you don't want to be blurry, that you want to be very crisp and clear because it's so awesome. A life that is so fulfilled and so full of joy that you want to be more conscious, to explore even more facets of it. So the start of that would be to just find out what brings you the most joy. Now, I also want to address that many people have a hard time finding joy in their free time without company, alcohol, or Netflix. And that's just because they are not in a very inspired state. And of course, there are a few things you can do to become more receptive to the sensation of personal joy. So I'm going to name a few of them, and you can just choose the ones or one of them that really resonates with you, that kind of excites you. So the first one is to just disfatigue first, for example, by going for a short run, stretching with a little yoga practice, which you can also do from home. And afterwards, when the pulse has calmed down, listen to a short piece of content or consume a short piece of content that really inspires you, such as your favorite song. So that's great, because in that condition you first released stress by going for a short run or something like that, and then you kind of hyped yourself up. Next suggestion: at every given moment, just act on the option that provides just a little bit more joy and excitement than anything else. You can start really small and let it snowball. For example, you could just start by reading a book, calling a friend, or going for a walk with a good podcast or audiobook. And the last suggestion is, think back to what creative expression or activity really brought you joy as a child. And then, think about if you can do that again, maybe in a slightly different way, but if you can engage in that again. And maybe the thing you're excited about the most is one certain kind of sports. So you could look around in your local area, in your city, town, village, if there are offers, or a sports group, for example, a group of people who just meet every Wednesday to play football, which is, for example, the case for me. So these groups can be easier to find than we assume. For example, here where I live, there's a network of people who live in like the 4 or 5 villages around here, and it's like an internet forum where information can be exchanged, and I don't know, yard sales can be announced, whatever. So yeah, sometimes there are more possibilities than we think. Or of course you could just call your friends. It's all about cultivating that joy, which is actually, in my opinion, a higher form of enjoyment. It's something that makes you feel even better. And even if you can't imagine doing sports after work, I promise you, when you start, the energy will come. The next question is from Paul. His question is, fasting is wonderful. Fasting from food, of course, has its benefits, which is true. What are some ways to fast from technology and external stimuli that can help us improve our mental health? Great question. So the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, a digital detox. There are some ways to withdraw from social media in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're missing out. For example, you could go onto social media in 1 to 2 bursts per day instead of checking your phone very quickly, like every 10 minutes. Like,
time to check my social media, yeah, to see who loves me online. Hashtag blessed life.
You could just batch these little bursts of social media activity into 1 to 2 longer time slots. So that way your focus doesn't become dispelled. But you could also take a more extreme path and for a few hours just shut down phone, laptop, TV, microwave. Okay, maybe not the microwave. But get rid of the screens. And another aspect that I want to mention is the concept of fasting news. So simply not necessarily watching the news every day or not consuming the news in many different ways. For example, you probably noticed that even if you go onto Google or Microsoft Bing or whatever, sometimes there are these news that just plop up on your starting page. And yeah, I personally would just try to avoid that, or at least not click onto the articles, because the truth is, news are of negative, and the positive things that are happening in the world are often not reported about. So the natural thing that would happen if you watch the news proactively is that you would come to the conclusion that you want to make the world a better place. And my suggestion would be to do that anyway, but not necessarily watch an extended amount of news. Now, fasting doesn't mean you have to feel like you're missing out on something. You can also just do something that's not very stimulating on all of your senses, but that's still very rewarding and fulfilling. So one way to do that would be to read a book you really enjoy, but of course you could also engage in meditation. That's actually the most effective way to cut out stimuli. Or you could go into nature without a phone and sharpen your perceptions by looking a bit closer, listening a bit closer, and just being fully present. You could also draw something or craft something or do something with your hands that doesn't require the use of screens. This is actually something you could get lost in and just forget time, and at the end you will feel fulfilled but also fully present because your focus hasn't been distracted. You've just been fully immersed in what you were working on, and yeah, it's a great rewarding feeling, and at the same time you did some social media fasting without even thinking about it. The last thing I want to say is that fasting bright screens is especially effective or good for you in the evening, because by avoiding these bright lights and half an hour before you go to bed, you boost your dopamine levels the next day. The next question is from Rebecca. What's the best verbiage to use with clients so I can tell them that they're not my only client and I still need to attend to my life? And the way you asked that question kind of shows me that you're already feeling understanding towards the client. You don't want to hurt their feelings. And if you can embrace that compassionate, understanding state of mind while you talk to them, while you're telling them that your time is limited, you just can't serve everybody at the same time, then I think they will understand. And also make it seem logical for them that you also have other things to do. For example, you could say, I'm committed to giving you my best, just as I do with all my clients. And if you decide to schedule a meeting with them, which can be very helpful because then they have the satisfaction of being able to talk with you, but you still have some time until the meeting, you could say, let's schedule a time so I can dedicate my full focus to your project. So that was already it for this video. Ask me a question on Instagram or here in the comments to be part of the next video. And if you would like to schedule a discovery call with me, which is free, you can also do that in the description down below. So I just want to briefly explain the concept of these discovery calls. What usually happens there is that you present me your primary challenge at the moment, and then we can go through a little questionnaire where I touch upon some areas of life, some health-related questions, work-related questions, stress level-related questions, and then we revise your original question and dive really deeply into that and find a solution together. So if you would like to try that, information doesn't hurt anyone, so you can book your free call down below, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.